What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Against All Odds podcast. I'm here with Leo Folla, right? Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
Leo Folla?
Follow, yeah.
Folla. Okay, so we'll roll the intro and then we'll get right into it. Okay, Leo, do you want to just give me your name, age, and then your position?
Okay, yeah. My name is Leo Folla. I'm 26, play center back.
Center back. Okay.
Yes,
And this is your first year with FC Tulsa?
Correct, yep.
What's your number?
5.
Number 5?
5, yeah.
You think about that for a second?
I was like, what? I've been 5 the past 3 years, but
Yeah.
yeah, number 5.
And then well, before this, you were at Chattanooga.
Yeah, I did 2 years with Red Wolves in League One. Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll just I like to always just start at the beginning, start
Okay.
from like where you're born and everything, and then we'll kind of go all the way through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're born in New York, right?
Yeah, born and raised in New York. A small neighborhood called Roseville Island between Manhattan and Queens. Very unique neighborhood in terms of like the background. Like a lot of the kids I grew up with were from like all different types of backgrounds. Like I have a lot of North African friends, kids from the Middle East, Europe, all over. So very diverse background where I came from. And I was born and raised in New York, played soccer there my whole life. Played local, academies and club all the way up until college, I ended up going to 3 different schools, 2 of them which were in New York, which is Albany and St. Francis in Brooklyn. So pretty local kid in New York, I'd say. I feel like in the soccer scene, most people would know about me or heard of me in New York.
And then so did your parents, are they all into football? Like they're all soccer?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Like my dad used to coach me like rec league in the neighborhood. So I kind of got it through him and my brother. I have an older brother who used to play. Wasn't as good, but but he claims he was, but he was all right. But they kind of like not pushed on me, but like introduced me into it, and then there was no further like keeping me along. I just loved it, So
Yeah. Do you have any other siblings?
yes, I have a older brother, older sister, so I'm the youngest. Yeah.
You're the youngest?
Yeah.
And then did your brother, how far did he make it with soccer?
He played high school soccer, but like high school soccer, I don't know about in Portland, but in New York, it's a joke. Like it's just fun. I played high school soccer as a striker, and I used to kill it. But it was fun. But
Yeah, no, I actually was a striker too.
Yeah, in high school?
Striker in high school, yeah.
How fun was high school, man?
Yeah, so much
like
fun.
high school soccer was
It
like
was
you
a
get out of
joke,
class early, like just getting all the stats. Like
It was a joke.
it was fun
pretty
though. I
easy.
loved it.
Yeah.
But
And then did you play any other sports growing up?
played a little bit of baseball for like a year or 2. I never liked it. It was just too much standing around, and yeah, it was never my thing.
And you have like an American passport,
Yeah.
Brazilian passport, and Italian.
Yeah. So I have 3 citizenships. Brazilian through my parents. My parents are Brazilian immigrants from São Paulo. My mother's side is Japanese. So my grandmother was born and raised in Japan. After the World War II, we're from an island called Okinawa, which is like the southern part of Japan. Well, my mother's side. It's like kind of a little different than mainland Japan, like not the mainland, but like the people itself are a little different. Like it's almost like another race, almost, so to speak. But anyways, it was a very important area for the war, like World War II, where the states would send a lot of troops and wars were fought there. So obviously after the war, it was really destroyed. Grandma moved to Brazil when she was about 18. Japan was destroyed, nothing there. Went to Brazil. Fun fact: the most Japanese outside of Japan are actually in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah, most people would not know.
I
that.
would not. Yeah.
There's actually a decent amount of Japanese in Peru as well. But my grandma moved to Japan, and my mother was born in Brazil, born and raised in Brazil. So my mother's a Japanese Brazilian, but her first language is Portuguese. She speaks a little Japanese, but very little. Mother met my father in Brazil, São Paulo. Then they moved to New York, which is where me, my brother, and my sister were born. And then Italian comes because my father's side, Folla is actually Italian. So my father's side is Italian, but my great grandparents moved from Italy to Brazil. So this is at least 2-3 generations ago. But there's actually a lot of Italians in Brazil as well. So that explains the 3 passports. But that's good for soccer. At least the EU one is. Yeah. And the American for sure.
Yeah. Can you speak Italian?
Not really. I mean, I can understand a lot more just because like the Latin base with Portuguese and everything. Yeah. But I want to take it up, but.
What about Spanish? How's your Spanish?
Spanish is pretty good. I mean, they're very similar, Portuguese and Spanish. So it's like.
Yeah. People always say that Portuguese is like drunken Spanish.
Yeah, I always hear it's either that or like, I hear so many variations of that.
Yeah,
Dang,
okay.
They're very similar though. So
that's sick though. Italian passport, you can speak a little Italian, Spanish, Portuguese. What about Japanese? Can you speak Japanese?
No, very little. Yeah. It's just a whole nother language, but I wish I did, honestly.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Japan?
No, that's definitely on my bucket list. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That flight is like at least 20 hours or something like that.
Yeah. Mimi and I were looking at flying to like Thailand for our honeymoon this next off season, and just like, do we want to go that far?
That's the thing. How long is the flight? Did you see?
Like, yeah, it's like 20 hours. Like, it's crazy.
Jesus Christ. But I heard Thailand is that's a destination for a lot of footballers out here.
Yeah.
I know a couple guys in the off season they go there, and I hear it's super cheap. So
yeah, I know, because you can get a sick hotel for like $250 a night.
Yeah, and then eating, I hear, is like you eat like a king for like $10 a day. Like,
so
that's what I hear, at least.
It'd be cool. You just have to suffer through the 20-hour flight.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so it's super multicultural background then.
Yeah.
Oh, and your middle name is like, what's your middle name?
Tamashiro. Yeah.
Tamashiro. Yeah.
Leo Tamashiro Folla. Yeah, Japanese. Yeah,
that's funny. Hey, get down. Okay, and then so growing up in New York, you said you played a little bit of baseball.
Yeah.
Like, it was mainly just soccer.
Mainly soccer. Yeah, since little. Yeah.
And then because it's, I mean, your dad, especially being from Brazil, I'm sure that's what he grew up his whole life.
Pushed it on me. Yeah, he was my coach and everything.
Why did your dad and why'd your family move to New York before you guys were born?
I forget. So obviously back then Brazil was under a dictatorship, so it was just not the best place to be in. And my father had visited New York and loved it, and he's like, "Oh, this is where we got to live. This is where we got to raise our kids." And I forget what he ended up doing. He ended up doing some scheme, basically, like he paid a woman to marry him to become an American citizen. And back then, I'm sure it was a lot easier to do as opposed to now. Sorry, Dad, if I'm kind of exposing you right now. If I'm exposing you right now, but that's how he got American citizenship. And then once he became American, he divorced a lady and then brought my mom, which was his wife, and then they were there. But I guess just because New York's New York, it's like America's like land of opportunity. And it's like New York. It's like, what do you think of New York, Miami, all these big cities? And that's how it happened.
Damn. And so you growing up, and you learned Portuguese all from your family, huh?
Yeah.
At home, do you guys speak Portuguese or English?
With my mom, mainly Portuguese, because her Portuguese isn't that great. My dad's actually speaks English very well. He's actually very good with languages. He speaks Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese. His English has no accent. Like, he sounds like he's an American. My mother has a pretty strong accent. But at home I learned Portuguese just hearing it. So if you told me to like write an essay or something in Portuguese, I would be pretty bad at it. But I could speak it so well because I learned just hearing it. I was never actually taught to write it and stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And then growing up playing, like before, was it just all like local, like with your friends playing all the time in like clubs and stuff from up until like your first club team at like 11 or?
Yeah. So the only actual like organized soccer I would play up until like 12 was like rec league, which is like boys and girls, like anyone joins, like free neighborhood rec league, you get free shin pads, everything. Yeah. But honestly, I grew up playing like in my neighborhood, which is Roosevelt Island. We had a couple places we played. We had one place called The Cage, and we would just play there, and we loved it. It was like bouncing off the walls, like the gate. There was like a little gate, and that was the goal from like this pole to this pole. So much so that I actually have it tattooed right here.
That's The Cage.
That's where I grew up. That was a young me.
That's sick.
And I grew up playing like that.
Why is it number 11?
Back then, I thought I was like, hot shit, and I was like gonna be a striker and superstar forward and score all the goals, and that was number 11. But got relegated down to 5. But yeah, I grew up playing mainly in the park and stuff, and then my first like official like travel team was 12, 13. And that's when I started to really take it more serious.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty much like, I've had Rodrigo on the podcast, had other Brazilian guys on the podcast. They always talk about like futsal courts like that in Brazil, playing all the time like that with their friends. Yeah. So you kind of had that in New York a little bit.
Yeah, it was even crazier because like it was like concrete. So like you would just like the ball would bounce all over. So I guess in a sense you were like testing your touch and working on it without even knowing it. Like half of this cage was like rubber and half of it was just concrete. And then there was walls, like it was perfect. I mean, I would definitely get my kid to play there now. It's like that, and that's where you love the game, really, just playing it with your friends every day. We were in my neighborhood, there was like all these different cliques. We were known as like the soccer kids because we would just play soccer all day, so
that's was there like other neighborhood kids would be like basketball players?
Yeah, there were like the skate kids, and there were so many kids that would try and come into our group and play with us. We'd have like kids from like like different buildings that were like just not about soccer at all, like, and they would come with the new Total 90s and like try and get in with us and stuff, and we just didn't like it. But we were just always outside playing, and then the cage was also used sometimes for dodgeball, so we would kind of mix with other groups and stuff. But I don't know, man, these kids these days, they miss out, man. They don't know what it's like to be outside and like, just had that kind of childhood. Nowadays, I feel like they're just on their phone and at home and playing video games.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. No, it's funny though, because like everybody I talk to like has some form of like playing like that. Some neighborhood, like Eric, like he was in Virginia Beach, completely different scene, but they would just do like backyard, go into some kid's backyard and just play 5v5 like all day long, you know? And like, even for me, I didn't have like I was in the suburbs of Portland, but like me and my brother, it's always 1v1s, like always like we had like a little like a living room that my mom would just clear out because it was always raining in Portland. Yeah. We just clear out that like extra living room and just play 1v1
in the house.
In the house, yeah. All like day
destroying
long.
Everything.
Destroying everything. Broke so much stuff. But like that's all we did. Was just play 1v1s. Yeah. And I was talking to one of my friends, he's like, what do you like? He has like this younger team he's coaching, like a U8 team. And U8 team, not U18.
Oh, U8.
U8, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought U18, yeah.
Yeah, I said it. I was like, I for sure sounded like 18. But no, he was like, what should I do? I'm like, bro, just have him play.
Yeah,
like, literally just have him play. Yeah. Like you could do a few things, but just 3v3, 4v4.
Yeah, I think I spent more time playing unsupervised, so like with no coach or parent or, you know, telling me what to do than I did actually within a team setting. Yeah. Especially like even now, because, you know, like let's say back then, like when you were in DA or whatever, you know, we would train 3 times a week, an hour and a half. 2 hours. That's 4 to 6 hours. Yeah. I would play that in a day on like a Saturday, you know, in the summer. Yeah. When like, you know, there was no school, you just go out and play all day. So it's like, if I were to do the math, I don't know. Now I feel like I would actually, up to this point in my life, I've played more soccer, like, you know, in the park with no coach telling me what to do and control with this foot, pass with that foot, you know, with my friends that I have in the actual setting where it's like, either it's a college coach or a club coach or a professional coach, like drilling you, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Which is crazy. Makes sense. Yeah.
Because me as a kid too, you could play like 5 hours a day and not feel
and you don't
anything.
get tired. Yeah. Like, you know,
and you're like, what? I have to stop.
Yeah. Like
now if you do 5 hours, I do 2 hours. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Okay. And then, so what was your first club team then?
My first club team was Asphalt Green, which was a team in the Upper East Side of New York.
And how did you figure out how to go? Like, did your parents just sign you up for that?
I forget. I think my dad took me to a couple of tryouts. And then after that, I remember I would take the bus by myself. When I was like 13, I would get there on my own, I remember. And I was on the B team at first. And I had to work my way up to the A team. And then I did a couple years there. But I think my dad kind of introduced me. But then from there on out, I was all me on my own. You know, my dad was working. I forget. I think my mom was working at the time too. And they never took me to soccer practice. I always went on my own, which luckily in New York, you know, you can take the trains and stuff. So you don't have to worry about like getting a ride. But
how long was the ride to get there?
So where the neighborhood I'm from, there's like a little tramway that takes you, because I'm like on a little island, and it takes you into Manhattan. And I would take that over, and then I would just walk and catch a bus that would take me straight there. But it would be like 45 minutes, 45 minutes. I remember sometimes I would skip practice because 1, I hated the commute, and 2, I didn't like the coach at one point. I forget why I didn't like him, but I would rather stay and play in my neighborhood than go to practice, you know, because I just hated it. But then I wouldn't play on the weekends, so eventually I had to go to practice, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And then because I always wonder about that, like for the first year, how people make because it's usually a parent that helps them out or someone random like that. But I was on the B team too, my first club year, like U11 or something, like same thing, B team. And then after the first weekend, I got moved up to the A team because I had like a hat trick that first game or something. Yeah. But when did you move up to the A team?
I think it took me a couple months, but I remember like when I first got called up, and like the B team would train on one side, the A team would train.
Yeah.
And then like if you would scrimmage at the end, you know, they come together. But then I remember like warming up with the A team and looking over to the B team, and like they would just look back at me like, you know, like I'm like
traitor.
Yeah, like
that's funny.
But it was good times, man. I would trade it for anything right now, honestly, just to be back at that age.
I think that's impressive too at like 13 too, because I mean New York's different than most places, but like if thinking back to when I was 13 to go on a train by myself, switch over, get on a bus by myself, like that's pretty impressive.
That's what I did growing up for a lot of I think even public school too. I think I took the train in high school freshman year. I was going already to school by myself. I was like 13, 14. So in that case, because my parents couldn't take me anywhere, and you don't really drive around that much in the city, you know. It just doesn't make sense. But
how far did you live from like Times Square?
30 minutes by train, 25 maybe. Yeah. I was pretty close. I was right there. I'm in between Manhattan and Queens. So it's like right there.
I've been in New Jersey.
Never been in New York?
Never been to New York.
Really?
I've been the only time I've been in New Jersey.
Why would you be to play Red Bulls?
Yeah, just to play Red Bulls too.
Who were you with when you played Red Bulls?
St. Louis.
Oh, because they were in the East?
They were in the West the year before. I hopped in with them when they were in the Eastern Conference, and then I think the next year after that, they moved back to the West.
Okay.
So yeah, I was with them like the 1 or 2 years they they were Eastern Conference.
Rebels don't even. They play at where were they playing at that time? I know they play at a university.
It was some turf field. It was like
was it a university or no?
I think so.
Didn't they play at the stadium a couple of times? Oh, that was
before.
That was before.
Yeah.
That's when the year they won it. I had a friend who was on that team. Yeah.
Me too. Conrad Pleva.
Oh, he played Cosmos, didn't he, or something?
Yeah,
like that?
played for Cosmos.
Yeah, I don't know him, but I've had friends that play with him.
Yeah, he's funny. I'm close with him. He's a good guy. But yeah, I played with him at St. Louis. But the year before that, he was on that Red Bulls 2 team that won.
Yeah, they were really good.
They were sick. They were really good. But yeah, that was the only time I've ever been to New Jersey, New York.
You got to go, man. I mean, maybe not now because of COVID. It's kind of dead right now. Dead. Yeah, it's kind of dead. I wouldn't go now.
Yeah, but, we'll wait. But Mimi, that's like on Mimi and I's like bucket list to do.
Like from April or May to like October when it's nice out, New York, I think is the best city in the world.
Yeah.
When it's cold, I'm not a big fan. But
what did you do in the winter? Like, how did you train in the winter?
Oh God, this winter was brutal. I don't know about Portland. Does it snow a lot in Portland?
No, we get like 1 week in the snow.
Just rain mainly.
Yeah, mainly rain.
It snowed a lot, man, this winter, and it was brutal. We would shovel snow. I remember, I don't know how much snow. I remember Ricketts actually texted me. He was like, "Hey, how's it going? You like training and stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm trying, but I gotta shovel the snow. It's annoying, but I do it." He was like, "Yeah, man, you do a lot more than I did because when I was your age, I never did that." And I was like, "At least he's honest." But yeah, I was at least 3 to 4 hours I spent like per month just shoveling snow, and I didn't have boots or anything. It was a nightmare. But it built character, I think, honestly. it was a good character building exercise.
That's
to make a little, like spend an hour to get a little 10 by 10 yard space to do some work with cones.
God, yeah, I hate snow for that reason. Do you like, are there indoor areas like big, like the bubble domes or whatever?
There are a couple that you pay for, but
yeah, you have to pay for those, right?
Yeah, honestly, like I would just go to a park and kick around if sometimes the snow would be cleared there before. Or there was a point where I remember, I forget what off season, I think it was 2018, right? Going into my first year at Chattanooga, the field in the neighborhood was getting renovated and there was no field to use in my neighborhood. And I would just go to the park and kick around against the wall. And it was honestly great work for just touch, control and pass. But
yeah, it's funny how good of training sessions you can get like at a park like that.
Oh my God, you get so many touches too.
Yeah.
Like if you were to do the math, how many touches you get in that compared to team training?
Yeah.
It's like way more. Like at least 10 times more, if not.
Like in quarantine, like all the fields were closed. Like Titan was locked up, closed. You couldn't use anything because you weren't even allowed to be in an open field.
Right.
It was like complete lockdown. So I would go to this one like park that was open, and there was like this little like it was like a concrete, like the size of this coffee table, a little bit bigger actually. It had 3 concrete, like 3 foot high walls. So I'd pass it on one, pass it on the other.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
It was amazing.
All you need is like, usually if I just get 2 sets of walls right here, I can just like work on turning. It's great. If you get 3, that's 3. Like, you're balling. Like
the setup was sick. Everybody was like, "How do you get so lucky to find that?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't
like
know
the
what it
poor
was.
man's. You ever see the Borussia Dortmund thing? Where like that's like the poor man's, that one where they like shoot the ball and you have to like turn and pass it to the other side.
That I want to get one of those machines like in my ideal, like if I had like a training facility like that, it'd be so sick to have
like
that.
Lights up and that's where you're supposed to hit it.
And whistles like boop boop. It's sick. Okay. And then so like growing up too for club teams, did you bounce around for club team to club team, or was that like your club team all the way up until like 18?
No. So I did a year or 2 at Asphalt Green, and it was in the Upper East Side, so a lot of the kids were from there. And I don't know if you're familiar with New York. The Upper East Side is like a pretty bougie neighborhood. It's like wealthy, and it's where, you ever seen Gossip Girl?
No.
I feel like Mimi's probably seen
Mimi's
Gossip Girl. Yeah. A lot of girls like it, but it's a nice neighborhood. Like they have money, and I wasn't like poor, but I didn't have that kind of money, so they gave me scholarship, and then so I did 2 years there, and like I didn't have to pay that much, which is great because club soccer in this country is like
crazy.
It's like they charge you so much. I got invited to join one of the best ones at that time. It's called Manhattan Soccer Club. Jack Harrison actually played for them. He's on Leeds now.
Yeah.
Just casual, right? He's on Leeds now. Playing
Did you know him at all?
No, I know a lot of people played with him, but I never actually played with him. But
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah, I think he moved to New York or something like that. Grew up playing there or something like that. I don't know. But I have a friend of mine who's actually like really close with him. But so I was gonna go to that team, but then they were charging like $5,000 a season, which is like the fall season, which is like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was just, there's no way I can afford that. And that's without the trips to like Disney, because they would do Disney or Dallas, one of those, which is like another 1,000 easily. And I was like, no way I could do that. So I ended up going to this team called Dusk, which was Downtown United Soccer Club. Wasn't the best team, but they offered me like scholarship. I didn't have to pay anything. Did a year or 2 there. And this was back when I was striker. I used to play striker in those days.
Yeah.
And then I joined DA. So I did 3 years of DA.
How old were you when you joined DA?
So at that time, I don't know about you, but back then it was only U16, U18. That was actually academy.
Yeah.
And then they had pre-academy. So I did 2 years at Medoval Academy, which was in Queens, which is actually a historic field in Queens. And then I did 1 year at Albertson Academy. And then that was my last year before college.
Okay. Yeah.
So I bounced around a lot. Yeah. A lot of New York teams. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when in Oregon for DA, it only had 1 year where there was a DA team in Oregon.
Really?
Like it was just, there's
in all of Oregon.
All of Oregon. Yeah. We had FC Portland
Timbers had their team, right?
Not until after. So when I was U19, like coming back after college, that's when they started their academy system.
Wow.
So yeah.
Were they behind like other teams already had? They were behind.
They were way behind. Yeah. But I mean, the Timbers were pretty new at that point too. Cause like Timbers didn't become an MLS team until 2011.
Oh, okay.
And I graduated they came at like 2010 or something. I graduated in 2011.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like a USL team at the point.
What DA team was there out there?
FC Portland was like, they had it for 1 year and then it just, I guess money issues or something, but it disbanded after that. I tried out for the team, didn't make it. So I never played DA.
Wow. So you just played club the whole time?
Just played club. Yeah.
And then you got
club twice a week. And then, I did, but I did the ID camps to get recruited.
Right. Because I remember when DA, everyone was like, the college showcases were like huge, and like you would see like the college coaches with their like hat and their little clipboards, and you would like walk by hoping you think they like saw you and like wanted to talk to you.
Just keep on walking in front of them back and forth.
I remember I'll be like checking my emails after the showcase to see if any college coaches hit me up. Wow.
And so you were striker. When did you
transition?
When did you transition?
I think it was U16 academy. We had no center backs. Our center backs were out. I was like one of the taller kids on the team, and the coach was just like, try it out. I was like, I've never played defense, like blah, blah, blah. And actually, we played versus DC United, and we killed them 3-1, actually. And I did well, and then it just stuck, and then I just stuck with it. And
did you like it going from it? Because I feel like most strikers wouldn't.
No, because you want to be like forward, you want to shoot, you want to whatever. And at that time, I was like pretty good with shooting with both feet, but they just put me in the back, and it worked. And now I'm a center back and have been since, but. Whenever I see that coach to this day, he's like, you're the reason why, I'm the reason why, you got this far. I'm like, yeah. But,
I think it's the best though. Like if you're a kid to be in the attacking role first.
Oh, of course.
Get the skill work. Yeah. Get you comfortable with that, and then you can move back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I mean, I was a striker in college. You
played striker in college.
Yeah, striker in college.
That's hard to make that transition though. Much later in your career.
That's why when I dropped out of college,
like straight number 9 or like
straight number 9 or like a 7.
What kind of number 9? Like run behind.
Just run behind. Exactly how I played winger in OKC. That's how I played in college.
Out and out. Like yeah.
Just runs and behind.
I could see winger, but striker. I didn't know you played striker. I thought you played maybe winger or something.
Yeah, I was striker. I was a little bit bigger. I was like 185 because I'm like 170 now.
Damn.
So like I was bigger towards the end, but I also played winger for college
weight
too.
Program, huh? The strength and conditioning program is no joke.
Yeah, it was no joke. And they had eating so much, trying to get bigger. And I was a hold up striker, but then it's just also like I was either holding it up or just turning and sprinting in behind every time.
Who was in your conference? That was any big teams?
All California schools. So it was like UC Riverside, UC Davis, Santa Barbara. Cal Poly.
So those are some decent teams. That's a decent conference, right?
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some quality. Was UCLA as well?
No, they were in the Pac-10, Pac-12 at the time. Right. But we would play them like before the conference or like in spring season and stuff. We beat them. That was like when they were ranked like number 4. That was like the best. One of my favorite.
Those are the big games, like the ranked games.
Yeah, so much fun. Yeah. But how did you? So you were now moving back at like 16 years old to a center back. How did you? Like, did you just always start training as a center back then from that point on with teams? And did you do like, were you still playing? You're like in the cage, still training there with your friends?
I feel like the older I got, like some of my friends stuck with soccer, but obviously not everyone sticks with it. Some people have different interests. Some just aren't good enough.
Yeah.
We weren't playing that much at that age, but I would basically just be training either on my own, kicking around at the park or whatever, or with my academy team. But since then, they put me at center back, and I just kind of just stuck. But they were still in my head. I was like, damn, I want to play striker. Like, I want to go out there and like try and score and stuff. But,
yeah, and that was what high school was for.
Yeah, and high school was just it was just kind of just taking a piss.
Yeah,
I mean, it was fun. Like I said, I loved it.
Yeah,
just go and you play these kids that would show up in Jordans. Like they would play. I swear to God, you play the kids with Jordans. Like it was, they didn't have cleats. Like they'd never played soccer in their life. Like,
yeah.
I remember one time we played this team, and they were kind of like it was a bad school, like a pretty rough school, because it was public school, and we played this rough team, and like their coach was crazy. As soon as we beat them like 8-0, whatever, I don't know what it was, as soon as they lost, the coach made them start running laps right after the game. And they were just running laps. And I felt so bad. I was just like, none of these kids are actually here to like become pros or like try and get a scholarship. They're either trying to find a way to get a gym class or they're like just doing it for fun. Yeah. And this coach is just yelling at them, ripping them while they're running. I was just like,
well, as if that's going to help them like for the next game too, like get more prepared for it.
It was just old school, just real old school mentality.
I hated that. How did you get recruited to because you went to your first year, it was at a community college, right?
Iowa Western Community College.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so that's funny. So going out of my last year in academy, what happened? I didn't have that many offers. And the offers I did have for D1s were like, I remember back then I was like, D1, like where are you going? Which D1 school? Were like 10% scholarship, 20%. Which is like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna take out $20,000 a year, you know? My grades also were pretty below average. I'm not gonna lie.
What was your GPA?
I don't even know. We had we had numbers. We didn't have like 4.0, but I think like my senior year was bad. I was not a good kid senior in high school, but yeah, I cut a lot of school, but senior GP like overall for high school, I think I had like a 70 something.
Like C's mainly.
Yeah, C's, and it was like my grades weren't that good, low 70s maybe, which is I think is that a D? It might be.
Yeah, it's like C minus.
Yeah, I don't know the scale for that, but so then I had a couple friends who were in a similar position in my academy team, but they got offers from this school, and this school was actually like one of the top JUCOs, right? And so I ended up there because a friend of mine who you probably Leo Fernandez, right? From Tampa.
Yeah,
You've heard of him, right? So I grew up playing with his brother.
Okay.
Kaiki, and we went to school and we played academy together. And he also knows Eric as well.
Eric knows everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Eric. But
this guy knows everybody.
So he was going there, and then he kind of convinced me. And I was like, yo, honestly, I don't have any solid offers. They gave me a decent offer, and I went there. I went there for about a month or two, something like that. Dropped out to a couple of reasons. One, there was kind of my dad was in a bit kind of back and forth between here and Brazil. I didn't know what was going to happen with that, where my family was going to be. And I got invited to this kind of like select tryout that's like this Hispanic organization called Alianza de Football invited me to. And I went. It's this like thing where a lot of Mexican scouts go when they call you up, you get invited to like play to try for like their U23 teams, U20 teams. Not like the first teams, but
Yeah, down in Mexico.
So it'd be like America, like Chivas back then they still have Chivas, USA. Yeah. Back then it was Guadalajara and USA and all these other teams like Pachuca. I went, didn't work out, and then I ended up, since I had already dropped out of Iowa Western, I spent a year without a school or anything.
Really?
Yeah, that's just 2013. So I was 18, and then luckily Albany came my way, and that's when I went to Albany. So I did it like a quick month or two at Iowa Western.
So did you play any games with Iowa?
Yeah, I played like Western? 4 or 5, I think.
And so mid-season, you're just like,
yeah,
I'm out.
I dipped. Yeah. So that sums up the old Leo. I dipped and it was over. Yeah.
Do you think that was a good decision looking back on it to leave for that opportunity, or?
I think so. I mean, granted, I don't know what would have happened if I stayed. They did win the national championship the year after.
Really?
I left and they won the national championship that year.
Wow.
And I was like, well, yeah, it is what it is. I felt like shit at first because I was like, damn, I could have been part of that, But then,
especially when you were probably a free agent.
Exactly. I was like just sitting at home kicking around by myself, and they're out here winning national championships. A lot of the kids transferred out to D1. They had a really good team. A lot of kids went to some big D1 schools. I don't think any of them really ended up still playing, but I don't know what would happen if I stayed. You can't tell, but I try not to regret it. So,
That's interesting. I mean, at the same time, though, if you would have stayed, let's say, I mean, you never know what happens for you and the coach there. If you would have been starting or something, and then like you would have probably regretted not going to the thing. Alliance.
I didn't want to not go and regret not going to that thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it was that really. That.
And then, so when it didn't work out there, and then you were like a free agent, was that a low time? Like, were you like,
oh yeah.
And did you think that your career was maybe done, or were you just like, no, it's fine. I'll find another team.
I think throughout my, like leading up to signing my first pro contract with Chattanooga, I think there were 2 big moments where I was like, oh, it's over. Like, I don't want to pursue this anymore. Or like, that's that voice that's just like, get a job or do something normal. Like, what are you doing? One of those times was right after I dropped out, and then I didn't make that. And I was like 18. I'm like, I have nothing. Like, what do I have to show for myself right now? Luckily, I rejoined an academy team, which I later ended up kind of screwing them over. So Yeah, it was bad. So Albertson Academy back then was a really good academy team. Yeah. Really good. We would kill these MLS academy teams, like New England, all these teams, we would kill them. So I ended up joining them again. I was still 18, but technically I think you could be 19 and play U18. I don't know. They had some weird rule where I was able to play. So anyways, I played with them. However, DA had a rule that you couldn't have played a college game and come back and play DA. So once you play college, it was like NCAA saying you play pro. You can't come back. Yeah. You know? I didn't know that. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But I kept it on the low. Yeah. And I played with them and we were doing well. We went to playoffs. I got into the team. I was starting as a 6, actually. They started playing me as a 6. And we were doing well. Like I said, beating all these MLS teams. We went to Gillette Stadium, beat New England. And then someone snitched on me. I don't know how. I don't know if it was one of the teams or one of the parents. Like they like looked me up and they found out I had college games from Western. So every game I played in got deducted. Wow. So they were like first. We were like second place in our conference behind Red Bull, I think, because Red Bulls were in our conference. Mm-hmm. And so we forfeited like 15 points, dropped out of playoffs. Everyone hated me. All the kids were like pissed because it was their last academy year before they went to college. And I was just like, sorry, man. Like, you know, and that's what happened. And then I kind of made them forfeit the season. So
because of you.
Yeah. And I just didn't want to waste that opportunity of playing at a good academy and versus like, not bringing it home and nothing. Yeah. But there was a point before I found Albertson that was in a down point where I was just like, what I do, what's my next step, like, and I would just be playing FIFA all day. I remember my dad would come in the door and like smack me, like, "What are you doing? Like, do something." And it was like, I guess seeing it now, I couldn't realize it then, but like, I had a girlfriend too at that time too. All I would do was like, I almost like ignored soccer for me. I would just play video games and hang out with her. And I guess it was a way to just kind of like get myself out of the reality of like, what's your next step? What are you doing? You're nowhere right now, you know? Yeah. So that was definitely one of those moments where it was hard.
When I was even injured, it was after St. Louis, and like I didn't get a contract in the USL in 2018.
But you had already played pro.
Yeah.
How many seasons?
2. 3. If you count Germany, 3.
Okay,
so I had 3 seasons, but like I couldn't get a contract in 2018 because I was still injured, and like I was getting surgery in February when the preseason was starting. So like no club wanted to sign me.
It's a gamble, It's a big gamble.
And then so I couldn't get anything. Like I was kind of like the same thing, like just sitting at home, like trying to figure out like what to do. And I went into like just making videos, and like I had the full comment section, like, what are you doing? Like, what's your career? Everyone's like all this stuff. And then I was like,
no response.
couldn't respond to it. Then like my family was super supportive, but I could even feel a little bit of like, and I was like focused on it, but I could even feel myself shifting a little bit more to like just making videos versus like actually training to get back healthy and focus on my career. It was like only like a month of it, but like it's tough because you want to just not even think about it, you know?
Yeah.
But then how did Albany come about?
So Albany came about, I had gone to like an ID tryout, one of those ID camps, whatever. And this is before I went to Iowa Western. I remember I saw the email to this day. He was like, yeah, sorry, you're not what we're looking for this year. Like it's basically a polite no. Yeah. Like you weren't good enough, whatever, right? Then they sent me an email the next year after I did a good year with Albertson, although we got disqualified because of me, but I did well, I guess. And then he emailed me. He's like, hey, like, are you looking for a college team? Blah, blah. Your eligibility might be a little weird because you did like half a season with Iowa. We'll see what can happen. And then it worked out, and he brought me in, and you know, I didn't get too much scholarship that I remember, but I did there, and then I ended up there. He offered me a spot there, and I got there. And I did I played 12 games of the first 18. Then I got injured after 12. I pulled a hamstring and I was out. You know how college seasons are. Yeah. You pull your hamstring out, you're out for half the season. Yeah. It's like a marathon. It's like a sprint, you know? It's like, it's so quick. But
a 3-week hamstring injury is you missed 10 games.
Yeah. And Albany was funny too, because after I left, I transferred out just because to me, my mindset was so like soccer based at that point. I was like, I'm in a D1 program. Like I've never been here. Like that's all I care about, soccer right now. I want to play pro. Like college here is just for soccer. Like I don't like forget school, like forget all that stuff. I'm here for soccer. Didn't really go out, barely partied anything. Even Albany's a pretty big party school. A lot of my teammates, it was just like no knock on them. They just want to live their life. Yeah. Right? I never went out and stuff. And I was just like, you know, I had a couple of friends who were at a local school in Brooklyn, and we were really bad that year, my first year. Albany. We had 4 wins out of like 18 games. I was like, I'm out of here. I can't stay here. I told the coach that. I was like, you know, I really told him, I was like, listen, I'm like really focused on soccer. I feel like some of the players aren't, and I feel like I'll be more comfortable at home. I'll save money, you know, even though I'll be commuting, but I want to pay for, you know, housing and all that stuff. And I told him he was pissed because I'd only been there for a year and I had just left Iowa. So it was like, it wasn't a good look. And I remember my dad telling me, he was like, Leo, you realize what this looks like to most people, to coach. It looks like you're a quitter. Like you just want to leave, up and leave. I was like, yeah, but like, I don't think this atmosphere is good for me. Like I'd rather be home and there's less distractions, and whatever, I'll be home close to you guys. And essentially that's what I did. And then I could coach a little bit, make some money on the side. And to me, I think is a great decision, even though Albany did go on to win the conference next year, go to like the Elite Eight or whatever they made, Sweet 16, beat Maryland, like when the Maryland was like top.
So whenever you leave, the team just does really well.
I was just like, I guess if I leave here, maybe we'll start winning.
Yeah, you know what?
Or maybe Chattanooga will start winning this year. But but like I said, I don't regret it.
But you could just feel the atmosphere wasn't right for you.
Yeah, for me personally, I wasn't into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I transferred to St. Francis in Brooklyn, which we had a successful conference. Wasn't that good, Northeast Conference, but we had a successful 3 years there, and I won 2 championships, and we went to NCAAs. Lost first round both times, but that was my college career, really, in a nutshell.
So it was a good decision in the end to leave Albany.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't tell what would have happened had I stayed.
Yeah.
It's hard, but
it is tough to go back. Do you think that, did you have any idea about St. Francis when you left, like when you were planning on leaving Albany, or did you just leave and you're like, we'll see what happens?
I had an idea because I had a couple friends who I played academy with who were there.
Okay.
And I didn't know a lot of the things that once I experienced there, like in terms of it being a smaller school, lower budget, not as nice facilities, not as nice, whatever, just everything. You're not getting taken care of as nice as you would have in a bigger state school. But granted, I think
how many people were in St. Francis?
It was a commuter school, so there were thousands of people went, but no one lived on campus. Really, so it was like it's like a building. It's like a little small building, and as opposed to Albany, which had a massive campus. So those differences were there for sure.
And so you were saying that too at Albany, but like you were focused on going pro.
Yeah.
Like when did you realize like, okay, I'm going to try to be, because everybody wants to be a pro, but when did you realize like, okay, I'm going to actually try to be a pro? Like this is possible.
I think Albany, once I went to Albany, I was like, I'm playing D1. Because like I said, when I was growing up and we were in the academy, everything was like, oh, D1, what program are you going to? Like, did you get like, oh, who committed? He committed, he committed. Remember people be checking top drawer Sandra?
For
like college stuff.
And
so I think Albany is when I like really decided. And I was like, you know what? I need to get away from this party atmosphere. All these guys want to do is party, and which is great, but like that's not me. Like I'm here for soccer. That's the only reason I could care 2 shits less about school. Like this is not for me. And I went to St. Francis, and it's like you have this idea that like you going to college, you're gonna get drafted. Because back then that's how it was, right? It's like you need to kill it, get drafted, and that's happily ever after.
Exactly.
Then you realize it's like not the reality for most players who play pro, right? Yeah. Like it did happen for some guys, don't get me wrong, but most guys didn't get drafted.
And if you did, most of the time it's just pushed straight down to
USL.
Even then, back then too, there wasn't as many USL teams. So it was like just like either cut or we'll push you somewhere else.
Exactly. So, but I didn't have an idea. I just thought maybe I'd get drafted. But then going to St. Francis, I was like, you know what, we're doing well. But it was hard coming out of a smaller school. And as each season went by, I was like, I'm not on these like 20 players to look out for in the college season, or whatever the trophy was, like candidates for this trophy, like the Heisman or whatever.
Mac Herman.
Yeah. I was just like nowhere near that. I was not on that radar. So as each season went by, I was like, I got to switch my thinking up. How am I going to go pro? I'm not getting drafted. Let's be realistic here, coming out of a small school. So that was the thinking. But I always knew, I think once I hit Albany, and even earlier I knew, but I knew once I hit D1, I was like, all right, I followed the next step. What's the next step? What's the next step?
I think that's like the main thing too. I always say like your career is just like a whole bunch of like baby steps. And you just focus on performing where you're at, and then just reaching the next level higher. Then perform there, then reach the next level higher. Like all these kids at 15 are so worried about how can I be a pro? How can I become a pro? I'm like, well, first let's work on getting you from your club team to your DA team. Then let's work on there either to a pro route or to a college. Like stop worrying about going from 0 to 100, just focus on that next step, perform where you are and then focus on the next step.
Right.
So it seemed like you got to D1, you're performing there. That's when it went to the next step. Did you graduate St. Francis though?
Yeah, I did. I actually did. Thank God for that.
What was your degree?
Most student athlete major you could think of.
Communications. Yeah. There you go. Hey, degree's a degree.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
I mean, I got it, but wow, I did not learn much, to be honest. I don't know if that's a fault on the like that's a knock on the school or me as a student.
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, both. Yeah, Yeah, communications.
And then did you played with a PDL team, right?
Yeah. I played with FA Euro, which is a local PDL team as well.
How did that go? Like,
we were bad. We never won, but it was just consistent playing time for me. And we were in a really hard conference. So we had Red Bull 23s. Reading, have you heard of Reading?
Yeah.
They're like back then they were like one of the best PDL teams. Rough Riders from Long Island, and I forget, we had another team. Forget which one, but we had a really good conference, but we'd lose almost every game. But it was good because I was playing week in, week out. So like I played college up until May. PDL started right away.
Yeah.
PDL till like July, and then like 3 weeks until preseason. So it was like for me, I just wanted to play. You know?
So, and I think too, like it's so important. Like the more teams you play for, and the more teammates you like are, connect with, and coaches that like you. It's just all connections on once you go up to the next level.
Exactly.
And then so you graduated St. Francis. What was your next step after that?
So that's like the big like, all right, what now? Like that falling off a cliff, like jump into reality, like getting out of that bubble after college is so real. Like people talk about it, but then you graduate, it's like, what am I doing for the rest of my life? I want to play soccer, but what do I do? Right. So I had been working, I had a friend who actually now operates this team in Nisa. I think you may have heard New Amsterdam Football Club. They're like a New York team there. He's like, I think the sporting director there, but he has an agency or kind of like some kind of like placement thing that where he sends people over to Europe. And he sent a couple buddies of mine to the lower leagues, Germany. He's German, so he has a lot of connection in Germany. He sent a lot of guys over. Were you at Darmstadt in Germany? Where were you at?
I was in Gießen. It was like above Frankfurt.
Okay. Have you heard of Darmstadt, the team? He sent a bunch of guys there. But he didn't send me, but he sent a bunch of guys there, like Uber League of that team, and he had another contact in Sweden. So I was talking to him, and we were talking. I was just like, listen, man, I gotta find something, man. Like I gotta figure out what I'm doing. So the season was done in December. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to. He was like, look, there's a team in Sweden. They're interested in having you on trial. Which is like, I gotta go all the way to Sweden for a trial. It's like, you can't get me anything. It's like, nah, man. It's like, it was a 4th division team too. So it wasn't like I was trying to get into the 1st, 2nd. I was like, I'll take a trial. But it was like 4th. And then when he told me the salary, he was like, oh, it'll be around like $500 a month. Just like, that's not a lot.
And did you have to pay for your own flight over there? Yeah. Pay for your hotel, everything. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So a lot of people they think that like, oh yeah, they'll fly me over. They're like, no.
4th division Sweden.
No, you're gonna have to. I mean, even higher clubs, like
for sure.
Still like,
even USL teams.
Yeah, USL. Get over here and then we'll talk. It's always like that.
So luckily, I graduated like right after the season. So I graduated in December. Then February, I was already on a plane to Sweden, and I was on trial for a bit. I was playing left back in college for a bit. So I was playing left back. But in college, we play like a back four, basically 4 center backs. The wing backs can go up. Yeah. Super old school. And they had taken me in as a left back. And I was like, all right. He's like, look, the guy who sent me there, he's like, look, just play left back. They need a left back, Tell them you can play center back, but show you can play left back because that's what they need right now.
Yeah.
Left back. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went there. And at first, they didn't really like me. I had problems with my ankle. I remember I got injured a little bit. And it was rough there because, like you said, like, first of all, when I did end up signing with them, the salary was not $500 a month. It was less. It was like $300.
Yeah.
They taxed the $300, which was insane to me because it wasn't even a pro contract. Because 4th division there is semi-pro.
Why? Yeah. Why
3rd division is pro. I think it was just a way for them to scheme a little money.
Yeah.
And take a little money off the top.
Oh yeah, they'll just put like some Swedish word. Don't worry, it's taxes. Yeah,
exactly.
Just go straight to the back of the
like
club.
An extra $50. I was just like, really?
Yeah. So, what about housing? What do they do for housing?
Yeah. So I was about to get to that.
Oh yeah.
Housing was rough. So luckily I had a friend from New York who's there right now too, who's on New Amsterdam now. But he was there first and he told me how it was. He was like, look, it's not the best, but it's a stepping stone. I suggest you come out. I was like, I'm not doing anything. I understand. You have to grind. So I went there. I got there. It was just like, first of all, it's like northern Sweden. So it's like freezing. You don't see the sun for the winter. Snow all day, every day. You don't walk on concrete when you're outside.
Yeah.
You're walking on snow the whole time. It was a small 3-bedroom. And I think throughout my whole stay there was between 7 and 9 people in that 3-bedroom.
Love that.
The whole time I was there. And they said, oh, you're only getting $300 a month. I was like, how am I supposed to live? Blah, blah, blah. Is that even enough? I know Sweden's expensive. Oh, but they provide food. Great. All right, cool. Whatever. $300 and I can get by, go out every weekend, $50, I have a little money left over.
Yeah.
I get there. Their version of providing food was like, there's 9 of us in the house, let's say. They'd buy 10 tomatoes for the week. It's like one tomato each. Like they buy a bag of potatoes, like 15 potatoes. What do we get? A potato and a half for the week? You know, like it was. I remember we would get cold cuts, and we would literally count the cold cuts and split them up because we were so like it was such like a like a fight for food because all of us were like we didn't have much money. We're all making shit money.
Yeah.
So we would take the cold cuts and I count my like 5 or 6 and I take them and I put them in like a little separate thing and that was my cold cuts. No one touched them. Like it was crazy. And I remember we had a fight because they would buy us like one big thing of chicken and we'd each get like 3 big chicken like thighs or whatever it was, drumsticks. And I would take mine, separate them. Then one of them went missing. And there was a whole huge fight because I thought I was accusing this guy of stealing my chicken and it was just to illustrate how much of the struggle was, like granted, I always had enough to eat. Yeah. But we would eat. There was a day when I straight up ate a PB&J for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. It was that bad. And not that I come from wealth and not that I come from a super poor background. I had never done that though. I never eaten PB&J like every single meal, like, So for me, it was a bit of a shock, but I think it was good, like you said, to just kind of be exposed. Like this is what it takes. Yeah.
What was your mindset at the time where you're like, this is terrible? Or you're thinking, you know what? Like it really is a stepping stone. Like I'm fine with it. Like so I'm playing, I'm getting paid at least.
I mean, honestly, there was a point where I was really down just because, like I said, no sun. Yeah. They made us run so much there. I mean, granted, I was lucky because I was used to that because of college soccer, but they made us run so much. Preseason was like 2 months long, just running. And, like I said, no sun, it was snow everywhere. I didn't know anyone really. It was a rough experience, but I think, like I said, I learned a lot from it. And eventually got to the point where I was playing, so that kind of helped a little bit, and playing and just training every day. But we trained at night because a lot of those, it was like the team was like this. Half the guys were like local guys who worked and played at night, and a couple kids from the academy, and half the guys are foreigners. Yeah, which was me being one of them. So that's how the team was set up. But we trained at night, so it's like you had the whole day and didn't know what to do. We would just go to the gym or whatever, and they're big on saunas. I don't know if you're familiar in Sweden. Always. So we would just hit the pool right after the gym, sauna, which was great. But it was just like, what would you do all day till nighttime? And I only ended up staying for 3 or 4 months actually because when I had the visa, my Italian passport hadn't come in. Yeah. So I didn't know if I was going to get a visa or not. My 90 days was almost up because you get like the 90 days, and basically they hadn't communicated with me. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stay here. I want to leave. Like I'm not happy here. The club is. We're not doing well. I think I have better chances to go back home. So after about 90 days, I bought my ticket just in case. I was like, I don't know, I don't want to be illegal here and not be able to come back to Europe, whatever. Yeah. And then I left. I told them, I was like, look, I'm going back because my 90 days are up. Like, oh, you should have spoken to us. We'll help you get a visa. I was like, well, it's too late. It's almost 90 days. Yeah. And they were super pissed at me. But my last game I played with them, I actually scored off a corner and then got sent off.
Really? Wow. It was left with a bang, huh?
Yeah, I left with a bang. So, but it was a good experience. I think that really woke my eyes up to like wow. Yeah. Like, this is
the
like,
reality of pro soccer at some places.
Exactly. And I met a lot of guys from all over. All my roommates at that point were African, from Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, all these countries in Africa. And I just realized how like their backgrounds, where they came from and how much they would sacrifice too, and how happy they were just to be even at that level. For them, it was like a step up. And, I mean, it was good. It was a great experience for me as well. So it was a real eye opener.
Yeah. No, I think those experiences are like most players have like an experience like that. Exactly. Like I was in Iceland for 2 weeks, just for 2 weeks.
For a trial, okay.
Yeah, for a trial. And I was in February when the sun would come up at 11 and set at 3:30, same thing. Right. And it's tough. You feel so depressed.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to use that word, but I was like borderline there.
It's borderline. Exactly. Yeah. And I was only there for 2 weeks and I felt it already. And same thing, walking on the ice and everything, training at night. Germany, we trained at night too, because most guys.
What was it, second?
Third? In Iceland?
Yeah.
Second division, yeah. It's Throtter. It was right in Reykjavik. But then Germany, like the same thing, train at night. We only had, I think I was the only guy on the team who was just there for football. Everybody else was either a student, like a teacher, we had policemen, like everything.
So you're the only international?
Yeah.
Foreigner?
Yeah. I was the only international guy. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But it was Verbandsliga, like it was 6th division. And then cause I was going to be there with the 4th team, like 4th division team, Regionalliga. And at that level, it's more like you have like pros there. Yeah. Even though technically it's not professional, but you still have guys there.
I heard it's a decent level. Though.
It's a good level. It is. But I was with a team there, and then they were offering me the contract, everything, like my first contract. They said 1,500 euros a month and housing. So I was like,
great first contract.
Yeah, I was pumped. And that was after a year of Sacramento Republic, living on a mattress with my friends apart, like in the kitchen, flipping it up, like grinding cereal for dinner and stuff. Because they would just give me enough money for expenses.
This was in the 6th division.
Yeah. So no, that was 4th division. That was 4th division. But then they backed out last minute. And they said, sorry, like our sponsor backed out. We can't give it to you, but we can give you the 6th division team to finish out this season. And you'll come with us, same contract for next season. Right. And then 6th division was like 500 euros a month. And I lived in this guy's attic pretty much. Yeah. And grinded it out. But like still is a decent setup still.
Right.
But yeah, so that I had that grind and like counting, like making sure your bank account, you have enough money for the groceries and a gym membership and stuff. It's bad. And then the same thing in like, other places like in PDL when you have like the 2-bedroom apartment with 11 guys, mattresses everywhere. Yeah. Everybody goes through something like that. But like it really, I think it weeds out people that are not serious about it. Because if you're not 100% like passionate about it, one day of that and you're like, I'm done. Yeah. It's not worth it.
Like, there's no shot I'm dealing with this.
Yeah. Well, I deal with it when I have a degree and I can go do anything else.
Exactly.
So after Sweden, you were there for 90 days and then you didn't want to become like illegally there. You left and went back home to New York. And then we're probably in like what, May? March? Yeah. May. And then what'd you do then? Yeah.
So I went, that was May. Then I was
what year is this?
This is 2018.
2018?
2018. Okay. So I'm 23. 23. Yeah, I'm 23. Just turned 23. And I'm like, all right, I'll play PDL just to stay in shape. PDL was starting. I knew I would play with this team every year that I played with. I ended up playing with them. Again, we didn't have a great year, but whatever. I was playing. And then they had a thing where they go to Italy. And they sent some kids over and, sometimes they try and get guys on teams. I was like, all right, I'll go with you. Why not? Like, they're like, we'll try and place you in team after the PDL season. Yeah. So I went and they're from Sicily. So I went there, scrimmaged a couple of Sicilian teams. We played Palermo, U23s, like, played a bunch of local teams. And essentially it was just like, you're either like they're like, either you're too old or you don't have Italian citizenship yet because I hadn't had it yet. Oh, okay. I got it like 2019, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And they're like, you're either too old because I'm like 23 to them is like, no. Yeah. Like, if you're not, you're not ready for first team. We can't even throw you in the U23s. Yeah. Because our U23s, most of them are like 19, 20. It's like it doesn't make sense to them, right? At least that's the thinking in Italy, and I'm pretty sure most of Europe, right?
Germany was like, you're 22. What are you doing over here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
6th division in Germany, 22. Like you're trying to be pro.
It's like be realistic, right?
Yeah,
like, exactly. That's basically what they tell you, either one way or not. So I went to Italy, didn't work out exactly. I had interest from a 5th division team and a 4th city did, if I'm not mistaken, 4th and 5th team. But they're like, oh, you need your passport. Like they only got, I think the rules, they only had 3 internationals that weren't EU. And I was like, it was hard for me to get that. So I ended up going to Germany through the same guy who sent me to Sweden. Okay. To a team called TuS Hordel. Hordel, which is near, it's in between it's near Dortmund and what's the other big city that's near Dortmund?
I'm bad at that.
It's Western Germany near Amsterdam.
I don't know if Western Germany.
Dortmund and Dusseldorf. I think it's near Dusseldorf.
Okay.
And I went there on trial for 2 weeks with another friend of mine, with a kid I had known who was sent through the agency as well. And literally what you just said, we were living in an attic of their like clubhouse. Like it was hilarious. And I was there on trial for 2 weeks. They wanted to sign me. I was gonna sign with them. 6th division. It was gonna be shit money, shit living conditions. But I was in the same boat as you. I was like, I just need to be playing somewhere, whatever, start somewhere. And then something went through where it was just like, I played my last PDL team game with an American team past June 30th is like some cutoff for the German league, 6th division, whatever it was. They couldn't sign me for some reason as an American. And I didn't have my European passport at that time. So I had to come back. And when I came back, that's when I was like, all right, I'm done. Yeah. Like, it's a sign. Like I was going to sign with it. Some bullshit rule. I couldn't get signed. Yeah. And that's when I was literally hitting up friends like, yo, like you're doing this marketing job, bro. Can you like talk to your boss? He was like, yeah, man, 60K plus commission. I was like, 60K plus commission? Sign me up. Like
last year I was making $5 grand.
Yeah. Like I was like, all right, it's time to like talk to him. Like I almost went like to try and do an interview and everything. Then I just really thought about it and I was like, nah, man, I'm not done with this. I can't be done with this. Like I got the rest of my life to just cold call people and sell them programs and stuff like computer. I can do that for the rest of my life. Like that's not going anywhere. But soccer, like the window's closing. I gotta, pursue it as much as I can. Yeah. So this is in like the summer of 2018. And then going into the fall, I remember waking up every day super anxious, like seeing all these signings on USL teams. USL League One was going to start up in 2019. It's like, that's an opportunity for me, you know, if I can't get the championship. And I remember being anxious and waking up and just looking out for open tryouts. Mm-hmm. So I signed up for a couple. I won't name the teams, but I ended up going to one that was about 20 hours away from New York by car. I didn't drive there. I had a flight that was going to go, right? It was November, the open tryout. The flight got canceled because of a snowstorm in November, which is like, New York is still weird. It's like, that's still kind of early.
Yeah.
This was Friday. The tryout was Saturday morning. I was going to fly out Friday night. My flight got canceled. I was like, I'm fucked. What do? I already paid. I don't get a refund. I took what we call in New York a Chinatown bus, which, as you could tell, is a super sketchy bus. It's cheap, like $20 to the place, which was like 20 hours away. Went overnight. Didn't sleep at all because there's literally people smoking on the bus. Smells like piss. Like the driver's smoking. Like this little Chinese guy like smoking while he's like driving the bus. Like super illegal, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was $20, so I couldn't complain. I arrived in the city where the tryout was at 8. Got to my hotel at 8:30. Registration was 9. Training started at 9:30.
Oh my God.
I pulled an all-nighter unintentionally because I couldn't sleep on the bus.
Yeah.
It was like a pretty ratchet bus. People were smoking, smelled like straight piss. And I got there with no sleep. I just like popped like 3 caffeine pills. And I was just like, I'm ready to go because I don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm ready to go. Surprisingly did well. Got called back for the second day. But I was dead. Like I was dead. I didn't sleep. I was on a bus. Did another day there. On the second day I was there back. Did well as well, but they didn't end up calling me back. But I was just going to tryouts. I went to try out another USL team, which I did well, got called back. But then I got a contract offer from Chattanooga. And I was like, I'm not going to go to like a invite-only combine when I have a contract already offered.
Yeah.
Short story, basically, Chattanooga got offered through a contact of mine from New York when I played against them in a men's league game.
Okay.
So basically, this was the fall of 2018 when I was going to these open tryouts. You know, when open tryouts are. And I was playing for a men's team just to stay fit. And we played against this men's team who had a former pro who sent me to Chattanooga. His name is Jonathan Barajo. I'm not sure if you played with him. He played in Miami, FC. He's older now. He's like 32. But played Cosmos. I played against them a couple of times, and he did really well. Chattanooga hit him up to sign him. And they're like, yo, they have a lot of money. They offer me a good contract. They're joining League One next year. You interested? I was like, yeah. He put in a word with me, and they just offered me a contract off the bat.
Wow.
But he wasn't willing to put in a word for me until because he had already trained with me. Yeah. And then once I played against him in a real game, like a men's league game with referees and everything, and I played really well. He's like, all right, you know, like he's the real deal. Like sign him. I'll put my word on the line for him. Because you know, if I come down shit, you're like, I'm never listening to you again. This deal was terrible. Why would you? Don't send me any players ever again.
Yeah.
It just shows you that you never know who's watching your game.
Yeah. That's crazy.
A men's league game.
That's crazy.
Could have been my like unofficial tryout.
And at that point in the men's league game when you're playing there, like you weren't thinking like, oh, if I impress this guy, I'm going to get a Chattanooga.
I wasn't thinking that at all.
You're just like, I'm just going to play.
Yeah. I mean,
but you did well in that moment.
To be fair, a lot of those games I took seriously just because I knew I was like, if I can't stick out in a men's league game, how would I have any chance playing anywhere else?
You add the pressure, but that's all like
that was internal.
Yeah, exactly. Intrinsic motivation because you're like, it's all like, I don't want everybody else being like, oh, this guy's trying to go play pro, and he's over here worst player on the field in this men's league field. Yeah. Like I feel that 100%.
I definitely didn't have that mindset though. Like, oh, he's coming to the game.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be playing him. I gotta impress him. You know.
Yeah. So it was just you were just competitive and you just wanted to show that. That's crazy.
And then literally, so like I literally went on buses overnight to tryouts with no sleep. I paid for flights to tryouts. I didn't end up going because Chattanooga offered me a contract. And then like I tried everything, and little do I know, it's just literally some guy makes a phone call. Yeah. And then I get my email contract offer.
That's always how it works, though.
Like standard USL contract. I see. I was just like, what?
I see. Yeah.
I was just like, you're kidding me.
Yeah. And was I mean, that's a good. I mean, USL League One Chattanooga. That's a good to go from where you were, what you were doing.
I was buzzing. I was like, this is great. You know.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's so funny because like I see so many similarities between how I got to Orange County my first year too, because it was like bouncing around, like all this stuff, practice player at Sacramento Republic, trials in Iceland, going open tryouts, got invited to Vancouver Whitecaps too with an open tryout, 2 days in preseason, they cut me. Yeah. Like, nope, sorry. Just bouncing around, doing the same thing, looking at jobs, making $60K a year, and you're like, you know, like, it could be. And then you think about it more and you're like, no, behind the desk, absolutely not. I'll do that later. Yeah. And then all that stuff. But that's insane. And then yeah, and like I got Orange County because like I was all set to go back to Germany, but then a random teammate of mine who I played with at Sacramento Republic when I was just training with him, they needed a right back, and we're like, he just hit me up and said, hey, contract's pretty much waiting for you. Come over here, try out.
Was he a coach or a player?
Player.
So your friend who was a player got you a tryout.
Yeah, at Orange County. Because they just needed a right back, and he knew me. He knew I was a right back. He's like, yeah, he works hard. He's a good player, and he actually told me I was the second choice. The first choice was already under contract. He goes, okay, well, I know another right back. He's over in Germany right now. Let me see. He hit me up literally in the 2 weeks between when I was out of contract between the Verbandsliga team and about to head back to Regionalliga team.
Right.
And he literally hit me up in those 2 weeks. He's like, hey, are you out of contract? I'm like,
out of the blue, like
out of the blue. He DM'd me. I haven't talked. I was friends with him on Instagram. And we followed each other, but like I had not talked to him since I said goodbye at Sacramento Republic 2 years ago.
And he was just thinking of you randomly.
Yeah. And he just hit me up, and then that's literally how it started my USL career. Went on trial, but the first day, I mean, he literally talked me up. They really needed a right back, so I went in there, and as long as I didn't like shit the bed, I would get the contract. Right. And it was funny to me because it's like I worked so hard doing so many other outlets trying to get into the USL, and the way I got in just seemed so easy, you know. Like, even though I'd worked so hard for it, but it just the way it didn't work out how I thought it was going to work out. I thought I was going to go to a trial and be invited into preseason, all this stuff. Yeah. And all of a sudden, just random Ivan Mirkovic hits me up and says, come on in.
That's what my goal was too. People would tell me like, Leo, you know, open tryouts are ripoffs.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I know. But like, if I can just get invited to preseason, like give me a week at least, you know, I can show my worth. And like you said, you thinking, okay, open tryout, then like select tryout, then preseason. Yeah. And then you get a contract, right? But then it's just like someone makes a phone call and boom, like that. Does he ever give you shit and be like, yo, you're the reason, like I'm the reason why?
All the time.
I would do it too.
All the time. And you know, what's funny is he's the person who also talked to Mike to bring me in here in 2018 for a trial.
This guy might as well be your agent.
I talk to him all the time. He's the reason.
He should start an agency, man.
He should be. I tell him he should be. He scouts players all the time. Super smart. Good. Was a really good player. Now he's a coach. Yeah, he's the reason why my USL career is.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, it's literally like the similarities. Like, you're like out here trying every avenue you can, and then little do you know, it's just like the easiest way. And then people see it and they ask you, and you're like, oh yeah, like so and so just made a phone call. And like, oh, you're so lucky, man. Yeah. Like, can you do that for me? I was just like, man, honestly, it's not what it looks like. I didn't just
but I always think too, he wouldn't have hit me up if I wasn't out there grinding, doing everything. Because it's like you even see players that are not giving up, persevering, going out to different trials. Like that would be a player, especially if you train with them and you think they're a good player. That's a player you'd recommend.
Right.
But if they're like doing nothing, just waiting at home, you're not going to hit them up and be like, yeah, this guy, you know, I'm going to invite him in.
Because put yourself in his position. Like, who would you be willing to risk your word for?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like that guy, you know, just playing video games and has a bad attitude, doesn't work hard. It's like, oh, that guy that left an impression on you because like he was working hard. You know, he's about it. You know, he's trying. You know,
100%. It's so funny though.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why like I think too, when there's so many people like, oh, I got this contact, I can talk to this person for you. I'm always like, yeah, for sure. Like treat it like it's real.
Yeah.
Like treat it like it's always gonna work out. 99% of the time, it's never gonna work out.
Yeah.
You'll lose contact with him. But all it takes is that one person.
Hurt either, right?
Yeah. You know, when I got to New Zealand too, how I got to New Zealand, because in that 2018 year when I was injured and couldn't find a contract, I had this random guy email me, like from New Zealand, and this was on like my YouTube Gmail account, and like I respond to, you know, as many as I can, but not all of them. I got this one email like, hey, have you ever thought about coming to New Zealand? And literally that email could have been just like, yeah, well, you should think about it, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I would love to. You know, I followed up. I sent him the email. Love to, but obviously, you know, it's more complicated than that. I need a connection. And then he shoots me the next email and it's like, well, I know this manager of this club down here. It's not going to be fully professional, but you can get games in and play. And I was like, yeah, I mean, if he's interested, here's my number, all the stuff. Here's my contact.
Like USL had already started? Or?
Yeah, this is like March now. So USL
season's already
kicked off. Done, My agent had dropped me at that point.
Well, that's the worst.
And then and then you said about the anxiety too. You're seeing everybody sign preseason. Like, I had to unfollow it. Yeah. I couldn't look at it.
Like you get this feeling, you're just like anxious. You're like, I got to do something.
You feel like such a loser. Yeah. You feel like such a deadbeat. Yeah. Like you're on the couch watching like TV.
Yeah.
Everybody's signing. You're seeing the preseason like training sessions.
Yeah.
Like, and then so all of a sudden, like the same thing the next day, the coach from that club like hits me up and calls me and says, yeah, be interested in signing you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, I'm injured right now. Like, you still interested? And he's like, yeah. And like, that's how I ended up though, a random email like that. And I get like hundreds of those, and most are like, yeah, well, you should think about it.
He contacted you through the YouTube channel, or
like
was it through
so
the
on
social
my
media?
Like on my YouTube channel, like even in the description of this video, like I have just my email. Like if anybody wants to reach out for questions or like something, and that guy just hit me up, said you should think about coming down to New Zealand, and it just led to a contract down there. Yeah. Insane.
Out of nowhere, out of the blue,
out of nothing. And like I almost didn't respond to it because I get so many of those like, hey, you should come think about playing for, like over here in India. I'm like, yeah, well, this okay.
is after you had already done the seasons in USL, right? So do you remember the exact place you were when your boy hit you up over whatever DM to invite you to try out?
Yeah.
I remember the place where I got the phone call from the season.
Where were you?
I was in Trader Joe's shopping, and I was like carrying mad shit. I just dropped everything, and I was like, skip me online, like just because like those moments are so clear.
Yeah, yeah. I was in an Airbnb in Italy because my family had just came over because I had that 2 weeks between the seasons.
Right.
So my family came over, and we're in Italy.
It's kind of vacation.
On vacation, yeah. And he hit me up, and then like it was like day 4 or something, and we had a 2-week plan thing. Mimi was about to fly out and join us. We were gonna do a full like Italian vacation, like amazing. And then I just said, okay, I'm flying to Orange County tomorrow. See you guys. Like I haven't seen them in a year, and I'm like, all right, give him a hug and left. My mom was like crying.
Did you doubt it at first though when he hit you up? Where you're like, this guy can't be serious.
Like I knew him, and he was like he
had that much pull on the team though. Like he can get you.
Yeah, like Ivan, he's like everywhere he goes, he's always super close with the coach. Like almost like he's been like almost a type of player coach since he was like 25 with Sacramento, always in that kind of role. So I like believed it, knew it.
Right.
And then the head coach emailed me.
And then you were like, okay.
I was like, yeah, this is serious. So I flew out there, and the team in the Regionale goes like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I told them like,
signed yet.
I was like, well, send me a contract right now, and we can talk. And they're like, oh, well, but you want you to come and they were like delaying. Ooh, so then I was like, okay, if you're not willing to send me a contract now, I'm going to go to Orange County. That's funny. Trader Joe's, huh?
Yeah, I just dropped my shit, and I was like, oh, hello. Like I was like, it has to be him. Like it was a foreign number. It was WhatsApp. I was like, yo, God, then. Like just like that, I signed with Chattanooga. It was crazy.
And do you consider that your first pro contract, or you consider Sweden?
That's the thing. Some people I don't know, because like Sweden wasn't technically pro, but it was my first pro experience in that. I was there as a pro.
Yeah,
I was there only playing soccer. I was making money off of that. So to me, I guess I count Sweden just Brazil. What am I saying? I count Chattanooga just because I was there for the whole year. In Sweden, I was only for 3-4 months. So just for me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm in like I always do the same thing. Like I'm like, well, if you count Germany, I count Germany. If you count that, like I don't know. Same thing in New Zealand. Do I count that as a year playing pro, even though it wasn't a professional?
You were there as a pro technically in the sense that you were there for soccer. You weren't there to like.
And that contract in New Zealand was better than some of my USL contracts.
Really?
Yeah, it was good.
Wow.
But it's funny because it was they treat it so like it's amateur, but it's not. It's so weird how they do it there. Like they just keep it so like under wraps. Like
what city were you in?
Wellington. Beautiful city. Beautiful. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing city.
When do they play? Like what's their season?
So they have 2 seasons over our summer. So from March pretty much all the way through August is one season. That's their winter league because it's reversed. Right? So it's their winter league, and that's technically like the lower league. Even though I played in the top division of winter league, it's technically the second division.
Okay.
And then they have a summer league, which is where they have their real first division, and that goes from like August through March, the other 6 months of the year.
Okay.
And that's where they have like their ISPS Honda Premiership, and that's like their nationally televised league, but that's where but still even then they still consider that semi-pro there. Really? Even though there's like you're be making $3,000 a month,
and it's nationally televised and everything.
Yeah, I mean it's a small nationally televised in New Zealand, small.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean they only really consider the pro team to be Wellington Phoenix, which plays in the A League in Australia.
Right.
Yeah, but it's really weird. So I played in the Winter League, which was the second division, but in like decent contract, even though it was considered
and better than some USL.
Better than some USL contracts. So I always say like if you got anybody is like in a year like that, go to New Zealand or Australia.
How's the level?
The level's good. There's good players there. I mean, it's kind of like what you expect, where you have some academy players, 16, 17, some younger players. You have some 30-year-olds that have played pro elsewhere, but you have a lot of players that are playing at a high level that could be playing USL that are there.
Right.
Yeah.
They're right on that like kind of cusp. Just
but the gap between the top like 3 teams and then the bottom teams is huge. Yeah.
I feel like that's a thing.
Yeah. Everywhere.
It's very, very common. Yeah.
But I liked it. I mean, living in New Zealand was pretty cool.
I bet living there was nice.
Yeah. And I was with the host family and loved the host family.
Did the club set that up or did you set that up?
So the manager of the club, like we had 3 foreigners on the team, and the 3 foreigners all lived with the host family, and one host family was like the assistant coach, and so it was just him and his wife. So he lived with him and his wife. Another was just a random family that had like kids in the youth club, so they just wanted to host a player. And then my guy was like the general manager of the club, and he was the one who I was like talking to about the contract. He was like, "Yeah, you're just gonna live with me and my family." I said, "Sweet." And it was an amazing family, 3 boys. I still talking to his son. Like his son is now playing D1 in South Carolina.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's just funny, like crazy.
It's
like
connected. Everything's connected.
It's amazing.
Soccer world is small.
So you got the call in Trader Joe's. You signed the contract.
Yep.
First real pro contract. And this was in, what month was that?
This was I want to say December.
Okay. Yeah, so December. That's like decent in the off season.
Will start in February.
Yeah. And this is right before 2019 season?
Right before 2019, yeah.
Okay. And then so how did going into preseason with Chattanooga, and how did that first year go?
I was really nervous. I mean, when I got there, our first year, Chattanooga had a big budget, and they were just signing guys with a lot of experience. Like Tony was one of them.
Yeah.
The other guy who played MLS. We had a couple guys who played MLS, a lot of experience on the team. They had a big budget. Some guys were on pretty good money for a League One team, especially. So I got there, and I was like, my first couple months, I was like quiet, didn't talk much, like just went to train, did my thing, and I didn't want to I knew my place. Like I had no experience. These guys all have experience. There's like 2 other kids my age who never played pro either.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know my spot. I'm gonna just be first in the rondo. Start in the middle. Like whatever. Like I know,
which is nice compared to you know some of the guys here.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what they're but that's I feel like the way you should be. You come in humble and you work hard. And I did that. And all of preseason I was on the bench. The first game of the season I was on the bench. The coach had brought in some center backs that he knew. One was from Atlanta too, and one was from a team he previously coached. And I was on the bench for all of preseason. The first game we played North Texas, we lost 3-2. Put me in after that. I played my debut versus Fort Madison. They had like 4 guys on loan from MLS. Yeah, Mason Toy being one of them. I don't know if you're familiar. He's on like Minnesota or whatever now. And I did really well. We won 1-0. Clean sheet. My first debut pro game. Loved it at home. And then I just kept building in confidence, and I did really well. And then 7 games in, I got a streak of 7 games or 8 games. Then I got injured. I tore my PCL versus Madison the second time at home. Went up for a header, landed on like a twist. Yeah, torn PCL. Athletic trainer misdiagnosed it. Told me it was my IT band. Took me like a couple weeks to get an MRI, which we were just talking about. And I was out for about 2 to 3 weeks. Granted, I didn't have to get surgery, so it was a grade 2 tear instead of grade 3. So I didn't have to operate. I could have, but he said it wouldn't have made sense. Yeah. Just did rehab. They kind of forced me back into getting into it. So I started, this was in May, I got injured. I came back in August. Okay. I don't think I was ready, but the opportunity was like, yo, we need a center back. Our center back's injured. We need, are you ready?
You can't say
no. And I was
no.
just like, I'm not ready, but I'm ready. Like, just put me in. Like, I need to play. Because I might have not gotten another opportunity to play, If they start winning or if the center backs start doing really well, they're not going to change it. So I played first game back, came back versus North Texas, the league leaders. We won 1-0, clean sheet. Did well.
So another good start.
Another good comeback. Yeah. Then I started getting problems. Like my hamstring started. I wasn't fit. Yeah. I had problems with my hamstring, my calf. Like I pulled, like just little things that were adding up because I was injured and I wasn't fully fit. And my performance is kind of swayed up and down a little bit. I played another 7 or 8 games after my injury. So I played about 15, 16 games. For my rookie year, which I thought was pretty good. Granted, I got injured, but then they picked up my option with 2020, and obviously Corona hit, and same thing with 2020. I was on the bench for most of the beginning of the season, bench the first game of the season, and then the coach put me in the second game of the season because we tied 2-2, and I played. We won 1-0 clean sheet, and I got team of the week. Wow, and it worked out, and I was just like, all right. And then from then on out, he didn't really take me out because I just kept playing so well that he couldn't. Yeah.
So like all 3 times that you had the opportunity, it's like taken advantage of, and
it's like a lot of pressure because I tell myself, and it's kind of the reality. It's like if you play bad or if you mess up or whatever, you might not see the field again. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just the reality of it. Especially if the coach doesn't like you or not doesn't like you. He just doesn't trust you or doesn't rate you yet.
And young players too. Exactly. They're looking for any mistake. Exactly. Ready to pull you out. Like, oh, he wasn't ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was in my head, I put myself in that pressure, which I don't know if it works or not, but I'm like, this is it. Like, if you don't play good, like,
I think it works. I'm like put on like pressure's good for that.
Yeah.
It makes you thrive. Like you have to rise up to it.
Because like it's a reality though. Like we said, especially if you're younger or the coach doesn't trust you yet or you're newer, it's like he's looking for an excuse to pull you out. Like you said, it's like if you make boom, you might not see the season. You might not see the game, but the field again.
And it's the same thing. Like when you're coming back, you're not 100% ready. It's like what you said. If I don't take advantage of this, even if I'm not 100% ready, if I say, "Oh, I need 2 more weeks," they'll bring somebody else in. They take advantage of that opportunity. They do well, and then, like you said, they're gonna be the ones on the field for the whole time.
Exactly.
So you have to just be like, "Yes, I'm ready," and then you have to perform. And you have to do well. It's crazy. Like a lot of people don't realize. I think especially younger kids don't realize how at the pro level the competition between players from the bottom player to the top player is there's so much competition, and all it takes is a good streak and you're in. And if you don't take advantage of that little time you have on the field or whatever, then it's tough.
Like, and the reason why I got that call in 2019, like, are you ready after I was injured? It's because the center back they brought in on loan because we were running thin on center backs. Caught a concussion.
Wow.
So he was there on loan to play. Like he was going to play. That's why they brought him in on loan, right?
Yeah.
Concussion. They didn't have a center back. They were thinking about playing someone out of position, but they're like, "Leo, are you ready?" And they're like, kind of like we're on the fence. I was like, I'm ready. Like, put me in. Like, even though knowing I wasn't like really there yet. You know?
Yeah.
But like you said, I had no choice essentially. I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. You had no choice. How was your debut as at the pro level? I mean, Chattanooga has a good like fan base.
They do. So the team that's in NISA now was MPSL before.
Yeah.
They were Chattanooga FC, CFC.
Yeah.
They have a huge fan base. But us and them, we kind of like rubbed heads a little just because like Red Wolves, in a sense, were kind of like the rich guys who came through and just bought a team as opposed to Chattanooga Football Club, which was like grassroots, you know, because they've been around for a while. But it was like 4,000 fans, I think, something like that for me, which was like, wow. Like, you know, like it was in a high school stadium field, so it was kind of shitty turf, but like fireworks after the game, like, you know, it was great. Honestly, I loved it. It. I mean,
a good debut where you perform, shut out, in front of the fans.
Oh yeah,
fireworks after. I mean, it's a good.
Oh,
feeling.
I walked into the recovery session the next day, like, you know, like, like, yeah, told you guys so. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, because I told you I was real quiet, but I was still quiet and stuff, but like and humble. But I just remember in my head, I was like, that feeling was like. I just remember sitting in bed, like I couldn't sleep.
Yeah,
so much adrenaline. Like, it was 3 a.m. I still couldn't sleep. Like.
I always have to pop melatonin after the games.
Yeah.
Like always because the adrenaline pumping.
A lot of the guys went out and I was just like, nah, I'm going to go home and just soak this up for a bit, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was a good feeling though.
And then second year, like how much did it change? Like when you came back for your second year that now you're not a rookie anymore. It's not your first year. Yeah. Like, did you feel a little bit more comfortable on the field and playing like in the team atmosphere and everything? How was that compared to the first year? For sure. The second year was different because we had a new coach. Oh yeah. And if I'm being honest, the coach didn't rate me. He didn't want me there. So at the end of the meeting, he told me, he's like, at first I really didn't want you here. The club just kept you here because I mean I was on a cheap option. It's like, why not? You know, I had done well for a good part of the year. I had some bad games after my injury, wasn't ready. But before that, they saw, you know, I was good before my injury and I was doing really well. And I came in, but off the bat, he put me on the bench before I had even played in front of him. So he was judging me from last year. He was like, no, I don't want him. And I was kind of stuck with him. He's like, he felt like he was stuck with me by the club and the owner. But it was, I had an expectation for myself. I was like, I got to stick out more. You know, I got to play better. I got to be more consistent. So it was rough to be on the bench right away. Off the first day of preseason, he made us play 11v11 at the end, and I was on the reserve team. Yeah. And I was like, wow, he hasn't even seen me play like in person. Yeah. But I think that I think playing with for him and having him be really like on top of my shit like that and knowing that I had to prove myself really helped me as a player. And I think going into my second year, just knowing, all right, the pressure's a little bit off. It's not my first pro year. I have a little bit of experience, you know. Yeah. And from there, you just keep building, you know. That's good. And then it was just a weird year because of COVID. So yeah, COVID really made it weird. So it sucked. Yeah. How during the main lockdown and everything, how was that for you? Like, what was your living situation? Do you have like your own room, or did you have a roommate? First year we had a stipend and we had a nice complex, you know, gym, pool, 3 roommates. Second year they put us in the house, not the nicest house, but it was fine. It was all right. Got by. How many guys were in the house? 3. 1, 2. We each had our own room. You know, it was not bad. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Better than Sweden's. Yes, for sure. But
Yeah, for lockdown, the house was clutch because we would just kick around in the backyard.
Yeah, that's nice because
we
you
play
same household.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah,
we made a driveway, so I would just kick the ball against the wall and practice and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I feel like in an apartment that would have sucked. And like in quarantine, I wasn't actually quarantined because I could walk around my backyard, get fresh air, walk around my neighborhood as opposed to maybe if I was in like a downtown area where everything was really shut down.
Yeah, that's good then. Got nice setup.
Soccer tennis was like everyday thing.
Soccer tennis, yeah,
because we all lived in the neighborhood in the houses. So guys would come over, we'd get like a bed and just play soccer tennis.
Yeah. I would. I was in like the living by Titan during the lockdown, so I was just by myself pretty much there. Like Sip lived there too with his family, but so I was just there. But then I would always drive over to where the guys lived last year, which is like pretty far, kind of like almost past where Danny lives, past the Walmart. Really? Pretty deep, like deep out there. And I would always drive over there because they had tennis courts, so we'd always go and play soccer tennis there. Yeah, all the time.
Soccer tennis was
you need to have it. Yeah,
savior.
Yeah, it was. It really, we played so much, and then the guys would play normal tennis and everything too. But you needed it. That's good. To get out, yeah. And then so that pretty much. How did you get from Chattanooga then? Because then, even though you played the whole games, were you ready to leave? Were you wanting to come back? Or
so I was on a 1 year 1+1. Yeah, right? 1 year with an option, and then I was a free agent. I had no more options. And then they hit me up, like the general manager of Chattanooga hit me up maybe 2 months before the season ended. He was like, listen, we want you to come back. Let's start discussing. And then at that point I had an agent, which is actually a lot of the guys on the team have the same agent.
Is it Mari?
Yeah.
Mari?
Yeah. A lot of the guys, Sean and all the Brazilians.
Yeah.
So I talked to him. So he put him.
It's all the guys that can speak Portuguese and Sean.
I still to this day, I'm like, Sean, how did that happen? Like, you're the most American. Like, I can't think of anyone more American, and you ended up with him. Like, it's like, yeah, man, it just happened. I was like, all right. I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt. But then I was, Chattanooga offered me, but I wasn't really trying to stay. Even if I was to stay in League One, I probably wouldn't have wanted to stay there, to be honest. And then Amari just, Tulsa came knocking my way early, and I was like, and with Corona and everything, you never knew. Like any offer you got, you almost were like I kind of have to act on it, right? Because I know a lot of teams held out for a while because of Corona. They didn't know when the season was going to start, what their budget was going to be, maybe, So as soon as a couple of months after the season, Mari called me, my agent, and boom, that was it.
Yeah. I always think too, like Jerome was saying this about a ton on his podcast, like your first offer is like your best offer usually. So like the first team that reaches out to you and shows interest is usually going to be the one that you should go with, because that's, why wait and try to convince somebody else that you want to, they want you versus if you have a team right now that wants you.
Especially if they reached out first. And
so when did you end up signing the contract? It was like November? December?
Early December, like first week.
That's good.
And I was like, that's the best. Signing a contract early, knowing where you're going to be, just put your head at you're not in like January, like I got to take a shit offer. Whatever comes my way, I got to,
And the same thing what we talked about on Instagram, seeing people signed.
Oh yeah,
because that's the worst too. Like it's so bad because like you see your friends and your other teammates signing, and you're like, awesome, pump for them. Yeah. But also at the same time, it's more pressure. I should be signing.
Exactly. Like especially if you hadn't already signed a contract. It's just like, damn, this is rough. Like you get that anxiety and everything, man.
Yeah. Because that's what's hard too. What a lot of people don't realize that, especially at the USL level, when you're kind of like a journeyman, like going around, it's always 1+1. It's always 1 year contracts, and it's not even a year contract. It's a 9-month contract.
Technically,
yeah. So it's always 9 months at a time, and every single year, pretty much, you're either renegotiating. You're back to square one, back to like, okay, where am I going to go?
Exactly.
It's tough.
Might move across the country.
Yeah. Might stay
out of the country. You might move out of the country. It's crazy.
And it's exciting at one hand, and I love it, but like, it's also so unstable. And you have to have this mindset of like, go with the flow, be relaxed.
Yeah. Which is why I feel like that's why you see a lot of guys, once they hit kind of 30, maybe they have children, they're like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
It's got to make sense at that point. I feel like, because
it has to make sense. Yeah.
If you got kids, you can't be back and forth with your wife and kids. And it's just like
changing schools.
The money isn't enough where you can just be like, living a lavish life and just going, it's not, you can't. It's not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy. And then how to talk about how like the transition's been from coming into Tulsa, and then from the last, like, I mean, because we got here, what has it been? 2 months ago?
2 months now, yeah, I think.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Today's the 28th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. That's good.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I think coming in, there was that like, I knew obviously the championship was a step up, but I want to know how much. Like, is it, wow, or is it kind of, it's a lot, a little, kind of just what I thought. coming in, you know, I worked the off season was super long, so I was doing a lot of training, you know, hitting the gym, training. Like I had to stay in shape. I took maybe like a couple weeks off, then basically resumed like normal. I got a couple men's league game in before COVID shut down everything again, you know. There was a point where like COVID like got really good.
Yeah.
And then like it just shut once the winter came, the numbers got really high and then everything got shut down.
It was like all after Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Exactly.
And
once the holidays and stuff. And then I was like, oh shit.
Everybody got together.
And in New York, I don't know about in Portland where the gyms closed for her at a
the gyms were closed.
Yeah, that was the worst. There was a point where the gyms were closed. I was like, oh my God.
Then you're like, what
I was already done working out at home because like quarantine, all those homework. I was like, I'm over this right now. I need to see some weights. Like
I hate home workouts.
Yeah. I hate being in my house and working out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not the atmosphere, you know?
Especially I'm always like, I especially in my apartment when it was all one space, like I'd be working out, then in between my sets, like come over and sit on the couch or something.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that. I'm going to be watching TV or something.
It wasn't ideal, but I was really working hard, you know, trying to stay fit, technically, physically, whatever I had to do. And I came in and, you know, there's definitely a difference in the level. I think overall, the average player.
Yeah.
You know, I think League One, I think the teams are a little younger. So maybe you see definitely a lot, like our team's a lot more experienced. Last year I had a lot of guys who were like 22, 23, 24. The majority of our team was that old. So you see that. And then, there is a difference, I think, in quality. It's not massive. Definitely not massive, to be honest. But there's a difference. But there was that in my head. It's like, oh, like that level jump, you know. But for me, it's been good. We've been here for what, two months, first game of the season. So I'm still, I think, getting used to the team and the coach and everything. But for me, I can't complain. It's like I'm in a position where I'm in the championship and it's up to me, you know, how I perform and stuff. Just waiting to get my chance, really. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I've always found the same exact thing. Like anytime you go from like club to like even a better club, or you go from club to college or college to PDL or PDL to a smaller semi-pro setup or up to a pro level or whatever, it's always like, you could tell the average level's higher.
Right.
Like there's a difference, but like a lot of players at all levels can jump up to the next level and fit in fine.
Right.
You know, and it's just it's the little tiny things, a little bit more quality, a little bit more experience, whatever it is, a little bit more athleticism or whatever, but it's small differences that end up making overall a bigger difference.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But because I mean, even we were talking about the drive over here, like you've trained with players or played with players that have played at the top level.
Yeah,
you see little things, you're like, oh, that's it. Yeah. That's the higher level right there. But you're like, you can see how it's close, you know?
Yeah. It's not like super up there. It's touching distance, right? Like it's there.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then everybody always wants to ask this, or me to ask this, but like looking forward for the next season, 2 seasons or whatever. I know it's I always hate asking this question because I don't believe like you can plan ahead.
Right.
Because it's going, like we talked about, it's like performing in that season and then you're seeing what's going to happen.
Right.
But looking forward, what are your like goals for the next 3-5 years or so?
I think as any player, it's like to reach the highest level I could play. So I don't know if that's here in the States playing MLS or playing doing really good in championship, or if it's in Europe and I'd maybe end up in Sweden again or some random country, or even Asia. Like you never know. But for me, it's like I aspire to be the best player I can be and play at the highest level I can. What that highest level will be, I can't tell you. You know, like you said, you don't know 3-5 years from now. You know, God forbid, but 3 years from now, I could be not playing anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the reality of this game. You know that very much.
Yeah.
Where you played 2 seasons and then you didn't have a USL team all of a sudden. So that could be the reality, but obviously I don't want it. But I mean, for me, it's just to play at the highest level I can. So whether that's here in the States, Europe, Asia, you know, and then I think obviously the older I get, like you said, like we talked about, like, you know, if I have kids or a wife or whatever, then the other factors start coming into play. Like, does it make sense? The money and everything to travel. But right now I'm single. I'm younger. I'm 26. I'm not old. I'm not young anymore, but I still have some time-ish. So for me, it's just to play at whatever level I can and keep improving, you know, at the highest level I can.
Yeah. At 26, do you feel like you're at your absolute like prime physically, mentally, playing, all that stuff?
I think not yet for me, because I feel myself getting better already.
Yeah.
So that's important for me. But I think in terms of experience, I can get more experience. I think that's where I shine. But like physically, I feel great. I think maybe 27, 28, 29, but I could be like shit when I'm 29 compared to now. Like, so I don't know. Or I could be really great when I'm 29, you know? Like,
from what I found, I'm turning 29 this August, so this summer. Yeah. I feel like I'm at, like, every year has been better and better and better.
Right.
Like the game feels slower and slower and slower. I still feel athletic and strong and fit. Right. So, I mean, hopefully I'll still be feeling like that in my 30s. But I thought the same thing. Like, I thought like people were telling me when I was 26, you're in your prime.
Right.
But I felt better when I was 27, and I felt better now when I'm 28.
Right.
So
yeah, I think it may have to do with the fact that like the typical American players like us start playing pro so much later.
Yeah.
So like, because like you get the average player who starts playing at like 20, 18. By the time they're 26, they have like 8 seasons already in them. It's like that wasn't the case for us.
Definitely. Yeah. That's what I think. 100% too.
Yeah.
And then so now to end the podcast, I usually ask a few different questions. You talked about this already. We kind of went over this, but what were the absolute best moments and the absolute like worst moment of your career, of your whole life? Like the highest high and the lowest low.
I'd say for sure my debut was a high, you know. Just winning, getting the clean sheet, you know, in front of the fans, little fireworks afterwards was great. You know, that was, you can't, like, you remember every little detail about it. You know, you always remember your debut, whether it's off the bench or starting. I remember how nervous I was. Like, everyone was like, look, if you're nervous, just kick it out. All right, just kick it up the field. Like, and all the experienced guys, I'm just like, you're not helping.
Yeah.
Like, you realize you're not helping, right?
The best thing you could do for a young guy is just not talk about them being nervous.
Hey, go out your game, do it. Like, just play well, you know?
Yeah. But don't worry about it. Confidence. It's like that's
hey,
the word.
Or they're like, hey, just give me the ball, right? Don't try anything crazy. Just give me the ball. I'm just like I have, you know, I could like do something. I'm not like useless.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
Yeah, they're always like, kick it up, just kick it up. But definitely that. One of my lows was getting injured. That was my first serious injury. So definitely tearing a ligament in my knee was bad. And I remember just like being torn because I was doing really well.
Yeah,
I was doing really well, and I was getting my stride. And I remember the coach is coming up to me. He's like, hey man, can you play on it? Can you? Because I tore it, missed the game, then played on it and played on a torn PCL, and we won versus Greenville 1-0, and I actually played really well.
Greenville was good that year too.
They were really good. They made the final. And then I woke up the next morning. I couldn't move, but I was doing so well and I was getting so confident. And people were like, wow, Leo's doing so good. Like he's never played before, but he's doing well. And then I tore my PCL and I was back down to here, you know? So that was a really low. And just moments like when I came back from Italy and Germany and I had no team and I thought about quitting.
Yeah.
Those were like that. Those are some serious times where I like in my head, like soccer was like over. Like there was really a part of me that was like, I'm going to get a job.
Yeah.
So those lows are just, I think you need those lows though.
Yeah.
That's me.
Do you have any advice like for like what helped you during those lows, or was it just time and just?
I think reflection. Like I would go on walks without my phone and just like really think about it, like my life long term, and reflect. Like that's when I would get to that line of thinking where it's like, I could work this marketing job when I'm 35 or 25 or 28, doesn't matter, but I'm not going to have the rest of my life to play soccer, you know?
Yeah.
And like each year that goes by that I haven't started my pro career, the harder it gets. That's the reality, you know? So
yeah, I do the same thing. I'm always like, I always try to think ahead when I'm 40.
Yeah.
And looking back, would I be happy or sad that like I stopped, or like I would go to the day job? And then the moment where I'm like, you know, if I'm 33, I'm like, yeah, I think my future self would be happy that I quit and moved on. Then I'm like, okay, that's the time to quit.
Exactly.
So that's how I do the same thing. All right, now last question before we end the podcast, but pretty much everybody listening to this wants to follow in your footsteps, become a pro. What advice would you give to those people to help them with their career?
Well, obviously I think it would depend on their age, but I'd say people who are younger, obviously just play as much as they can. So that's like unsupervised play too. Like I said, like, you know, playing in the park, playing with your friends, develop a love for the game. And I think once you're older at like maybe college level or just breaking into college or DA, whatever you are, I think start setting goals and like we would say like, okay, you made that little jump to college. Now it's like, now establish yourself at that level, see what the level's like, but then make sure that you know you're good enough to be at a higher level and so on and so forth. Like every little step. So after college, I went to Sweden, even though it wasn't the greatest level, but for me, it was a little step up, you know, like playing soccer outside of college, you know, the lifestyle and everything, and be willing to make the sacrifices. I think, you know, you have to make sacrifice in one form or another for everything, whether it's family, money, soccer. So it's like, be willing to make those sacrifices short term, knowing that long term the things you want will come to fruition, I guess.
Yeah, that's
you
good.
know?
And then what would be your advice for somebody who, let's say they are at a point where it's like where you were in that summer after Germany and Italy, where you like don't have any opportunities right then, you're kind of like back home, back to square one. What would be your advice to somebody in that situation?
I think that's a situation a lot of guys will find themselves in.
Yeah.
Like I have and you have. I think to just throw yourself at it as much as you can. That's my line of thinking. I was like, all right, I'm giving myself I'm 22, 23. Like I know 25, 26. If I still don't have a team, it's kind of like it's over. You know, like if I don't have a pro team. So I just kind of threw myself at it. Went to every open tryout I could. Did every sacrifice I did. Like, you know, sleeping on that bus overnight, going to tryout with no sleep, and just throwing myself at every opportunity I can get. Investing yourself financially, whatever way you could. And in a way, I guess it almost attracted that phone call that got me the contract. You never know. So
even playing in the men's league games, like you could have easily been like, no, I'm not gonna play men's league.
Exactly. Yeah. It is cliche to say, right? Like you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's true.
Yeah.
I always say too, like as a player, you have to be like an opportunist, you know, like any little opportunity.
Yeah.
Like there's that quote. It's like, opportunities are often just like disguised in hard work. You know, it's like so many opportunities that I look back on that kickstarted me meeting somebody or kickstarted whatever.
Right.
Like most people, I feel like, no, like that's not a realistic way.
They wouldn't take it.
Yeah. Like there was this one time, like the most cliche example of this, like I was talking to a scout who was like scouting the college games. And he was like, yeah, I think you would be good for this other PDL team. I was already playing PDL at the time. But he's like, they have a good route to the pro game if you ever want to go, you know, meet somebody else. He's like, I'm going to watch their game. Literally had just met this guy. He's like, I'm going to watch their game next weekend, drive down to LA. It was like 5-6 hour drive. You can come with me and watch the game with me. Like, why would you do that? He's like, bring your boots. I'll see if I can get you on the field or something. So I brought my boots. I got in this stranger's car, Matt Martin, great guy. We drove all the way down to LA together. Just had met this guy.
That's crazy.
And drove all the way down to LA to watch another PDL game, which I was already at.
Right.
But it was the PDL team was like basically Sacramento Republic's like team before they're about to be Sacramento Republic.
Right.
And so like I brought my boots. Matt Martin goes and talks after the coach. He's like, yeah, hop in the locker room with them. Go in the locker room. And that was pretty much where I met like Ivan Mirkovic, met all those guys in Sacramento Republic.
And that's where you made the contacts.
And kick-started that whole process with Sacramento Republic. Right. But literally, it was
off of some
random scout who was like, come watch a game with me and bring your boots.
You never know what the opportunity will be, that's for sure.
But you have to be like an optimistic opportunist to be like, yeah, I'm down.
I also think you have to be prepared though. So like, I don't know. I think my father would tell me, be like, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity that doesn't come that does.
Yeah.
So like, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity that doesn't end up coming than to not be prepared for when an opportunity does come.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like you said, like that men's league game, I could have like taken the piss, you know, whatever.
Or if you're 10 pounds overweight, out of
not
shape.
Fit. Maybe I'd gone out the night before. And
that guy would have been like, he's not a pro.
He's not pro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. The thing is, I probably would never found out about it because he wouldn't have said it to my face, but he would never recommended me.
Yeah. Damn, I just got goosebumps thinking about like an alternate reality of like you went out the night before or you were out of shape. The guy looks and tells him like, nah, but then he never tells you.
I would never known.
Yeah, that my opportunity
right there was gone because I didn't take that game seriously.
Yeah. And
then he wasn't going to tell me like, oh, I got a call, but I said no because I didn't think you were ready. He wouldn't tell me that.
And then when you're like 30, 40, you're like, yeah, well, no opportunities came. Like,
but they did.
I didn't get lucky.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's it right there. That's crazy. Yeah. Awesome. We'll end on that. So Leo, thank you for being on the podcast. Course, all your social media stuff will be in the description. You'll get the little pop-up thing that pops up. Awesome, yeah. Anything else? Anything that you want to say on the podcast?
Man. Thanks for having me. And, you know, everyone will make their own story. So I think it's important for them to do it themselves. You know, not everyone's story is going to be like yours and not everyone's going to be like mine. And there are similarities, but at the end of the day, you got to write your own story, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.
Peace.